Welcome to Bend. My name is Eric King. I am Bend City Manager and have had the privilege of being in this role since 2008. I'm here today to talk about this community we all call home, a little bit about City of Bend government, the structure, our role, a little bit of history on where we came from, and also where we're going. So join me as I walk through this presentation. First off, our purpose statement as an organization. We are building on our past, we're recognizing the history that we have here, serving the present, really putting the value of public service front and center, and shaping Bend's future. We all have a huge opportunity here to take all this investment that's pouring into this community and shape it into something that's sustainable for our future. So I want to talk about the city's role, and in doing so, I think sometimes we all see what's in the headlines. We see what our issues are of affordable housing, transportation, really continuing to become a welcoming city. Let's step back and make sure that we understand the full breadth of what the city does. And we have some help. The video that you're about to see is from Xavi Borja. Xavi has a whole series of videos that really help explain the city and its departments. So enjoy this quick video and entree to that work.
I'm thrilled to be bringing you a video series that highlights 7 of our departments here at the city. We'll be having conversations with Mike Bittner, Trish Conley from Fire and Rescue, some folks from our police department, Lynn McConnell from Housing, Community Economic Development, Engineering, Infrastructure and Planning, and lastly, our Transportation and Mobility Department. The goal of this series is to help you better understand what it is exactly that we do here at the city by highlighting our departments and all the services they provide you in our community. Here we go with our Know Your City video series. You ready?
So let's talk a little more detail about what the city does. So this slide has the backdrop of Mount Bachelor. It really illustrates the city's core services. And then in those clouds that you see represent those core values that we have here as a community. So let me talk through that a little bit. So we offer police and fire, public safety services, our infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, the governance systems that really help us communicate with the community and making sure that we're in compliance with state and federal regulations and that our council is representing you as a community. Layered on top of that is land entitlement, and that's a fancy word for ensuring that we've got enough land for our growth as a community, and that once that land is in our urban growth boundary, how we're managing that land for jobs and housing, and making sure that Bend is working. So all of those collectively make up our 4 core service areas. Those clouds represent the concerns that we hear from people. How do we ensure that Bend is affordable for years to come, that we are not becoming an exclusive community? How do we ensure that we have a sustainable economy given our isolation? How do we make sure that our livability isn't compromised, the heritage of Bend isn't compromised as we grow? And our natural environment. Many of us have moved here from communities where we've seen a degradation. Let's make sure that we celebrate and strengthen that natural environment as we grow. So our job at the city is to make sure that those values are infused into those core services. So I want to talk a little bit about each of those core services in a little more detail and provide some history. First off, our utility department, so the water services, sewer, water, stormwater. Back in the day when Bend was first formed, it was Muir Pond that was created, the backdrop behind me, by a power company, Bend Power and Light, created Muir Pond and provided both electricity and water for the city. It was back in 1926 when the city of Bend took over that water service, and we provide the great water that we have here in Bend today. And it's a dual water source of taking water from Bridge Creek up near Tumalo Falls as our surface water, our main water source, and then we supplement that water with groundwater in the summertime for irrigation. Our story with sewer is a little more complicated. We really did not have our first centralized sewer treatment plant until 1979. That was largely funded by a federal grant. Prior to that, we had a lot of sewer just discharged into our fractured basalt and kind of a decentralized system, partly because it is so hard to dig and Bend because of our geology. Speaking of transportation and mobility, our story as a city is one of a lot of dirt roads, boardwalks, similar to a lot of cities out west. Not a lot of investment in some of that core infrastructure. Bend was really only plotted for a city of about 5,000 people. So you'll see over town missing pieces of infrastructure, missing sidewalks, a few dirt roads here and there. We're in the process of really retrofitting the city and making it work. Our growth cycle did not occur during a time where there's a lot of federal or state infrastructure dollars available. So a lot of those investments rely on us as a local community. And thanks to the voters in 2020, there was a $190 million bond that was approved to help invest in that system. So you'll see work happening all over town in the form of additional roundabouts to make intersections safer, new routes to connect East and West Bend, bike and pedestrian focus to ensure that there's options for folks to get outside of their car and move around the city safely. So our story with public safety goes back to the kind of principles of Bend, of really helping our neighbors, having our public services be one with our community. With our first service as a city was our fire department. It was a fire that happened on the corner of Oregon and Bond, the O'Kane building, that volunteers put that out, and from there the town rallied together and bought a fire department out of a Sears Roebuck catalog for about $1,200. That included a pumper truck and uniforms. And there was our first city services. Police came shortly thereafter with this idea of volunteers helping to provide that service. And then slowly, as the city grew, really professionalized departments that are award-winning in their service delivery. Our focus on mental health and keeping our first responders safe has been nationally recognized. Our response times for fire and EMS are really producing great results. We have one of the highest cardiac survivability rates in the country because of that. And again, thanks to the voters of approving a recent fire levy, that'll create more opportunities for us to improve our services. Lastly, community and economic development. This is a core service that helps us manage growth. So it really ensures that we're using land appropriately, efficiently. So as a city in Oregon, we don't have the ability to just sprawl out into the countryside. We have a statewide land use system that really dictates urban versus rural growth, defined by urban growth boundaries. So we do work to ensure that we have enough land supply for 20 years. That's based on a population forecast. And so that forecast then dictates how much land is needed for jobs and housing, and then how to ensure that our economic development landscape matches with the available land. And we've really worked hard to diversify our economy from becoming from a timber town to a much more diverse economy that is more like the city of Austin than it is Jackson Hole, where we really have a diversity of industries to rely on and build a city that has an economic, sustainable future. So now let's talk about how the City of Bend does its work and a little bit about our governance structure. So the City of Bend has a council-manager form of government. So as the city manager, much like the private sector, I'm a CEO of the organization, run the day-to-day operations of the city. Our city council, our elected officials, set policy. So my job is to implement that policy and make sure that the city is operating efficiently. Talking a little bit about council. Council, we have 7 council members. The mayor is elected by our community members. Those councilors are elected every 2 years. So there's either 4 or 3 positions that are up for election. The council is elected at large. They're not representing specific districts. And they really work hard to ensure that those values that I talked about earlier are connected to those core services. That's their main job, is to represent the community from that perspective. So we go through a pretty rigorous goal-setting process that incorporates those values through community listening sessions and data from a statistically valid survey to ensure that we're representing Bend. And those goals are aligned with our 2-year budget. And our fiscal year as a city begins July 1st through June 30th. So our job is to ensure that the resources, that the budget are really aimed towards reflecting those goals. And we not just put goals and put them to the side, we really live and breathe them. We have quarterly updates. We have a dashboard that will demonstrate progress and key performance indicators on how we are addressing things like affordable housing, transportation, our environment and climate, the basics of becoming an efficient city. So now how do you get involved with the City of Bend? We pride ourselves on taking a partnership approach and want to make sure that your city is accessible to you in many different ways. So one of the first most basic ways that you can get involved is through your neighborhood associations. Every inch of Bend is covered by 13 neighborhood associations. These are different than homeowners associations. They receive some funding from the city to help with communication, and they really are an entry point for you to understand what's happening from a development perspective. Really getting to know your neighbors. There's social events that are associated with them. Also helping to prioritize transportation projects. There's many activities that are at your fingertips through the neighborhood associations. But beyond that, we also have a whole ecosystem of boards, committees, and commissions that help govern the work. They really are partners with City Council to address those council goals. So everything from our Human Rights and Equity Commission, Economic Development Advisory Board, affordable housing, a planning commission, budget committee, etc. You can see the breadth of opportunities there. And we have openings really all throughout the year to be members of those committees and help shape Bend. So I really encourage you to fill out an application and join us in helping to do this work. And also, we're doing a lot of construction around Bend. So Bend is growing, we're installing a lot of infrastructure. There's a lot of really great projects for you to engage that way as well. So look for open houses or the mailer that might appear in your mailbox, and really take a peek. One of the things that makes Bend so special is the level of engagement, is that because people care so much. The thing that gives me the most joy in this position is the ability to see how invested folks are in Bend. It really inspires me every day to do this work, and I'm so fortunate to be at the helm and leading this community. And so please take this opportunity and really stay engaged. And there's opportunities through our social media channels here, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We do monthly videos, we do podcasts, all sorts of information at your fingertips. So thank you for joining us in helping make Bend even better. And we hope that you stay engaged and that this video has inspired you to get involved in your community and help shape Bend's future. Thank you.